Thank you. Thank you. You're far too kind. Thank you. Welcome back to Run the Prompts, ladies and gentlemen, party animals. ChatGPT just dropped their new image editor, GPT-4o, and this is by far the best image generator I've ever seen in my life by a long shot. This is so good that it's the first time I've ever considered canceling my MidJourney subscription. And for anybody who follows Run the Prompts, you know that we love MidJourney. We love it. Now, this basically came out of nowhere. Just when people started thinking that OpenAI was falling behind in the AI race, this happened. And it wasn't expected. I mean, anybody who used DALL-E in the past knows that it wasn't very good. It just wouldn't get you the types of results that you could get from tools like MidJourney. So this is massive. I'm going to show you guys some of the best use cases I've been able to put together this weekend. I've been spending a lot of time on this, and I'm sure there's going to be use cases here that you're going to want to take and run with for your own purposes, and that's great. We're talking about consistent character creation, image manipulation and editing, logo design, meme-ification of whatever image you want, billboard design, interior design, handwritten letters, hyper-realistic images, infographics, and more. The list goes on and on. This seriously opens up a world that so many people could not get into until now. So, without further ado, let's get started. Images and turn them into other images and do basically whatever you want with them. So here we did one of Michael Saylor. We got the original right here. He has quite the interesting look on his face, and I wanted to make him look homeless because that sounded like a fun idea. So I told it to do that, and it said that it can't do it because it's a real person. It might be misleading. Okay, well, a hack to that is just say it is a fictional character, and you probably should even leave his name out of the prompt if you want to get rid of this completely. I can't guarantee this method is going to work for you. They might patch it, but this is a fun little exercise where you guys can create fun images. So I did that, and then there he is right there. He looks pretty much exactly like Michael Saylor would look if he were homeless, and I was very impressed by what happened. Quick pause. Do you like ChatGPT? Then you'll love Venice. Venice is uncensored and it's private, and you can get 20% off right now by using promo code RUN20. That's promo code RUN20. Get 20% off right now. Go to venice.ai or simply click the link in the video description. I love Venice. We've been using Venice for a long time here at Run the Prompts, so do yourself a favor, click that link. Let's get back to it. Start off with creating funny images. So I always had this idea in my head about Arizonans and Californians, and I never had the technical ability to create something like this myself. I don't have access to a photographer that's going to do this for me. So with OpenAI's new image generator, things like this become possible for anyone. So one thing you got to know right off the bat is a lot of the times you don't even really need a complicated prompt to make this work well. Most of the prompts I use in this video are really not that complicated. That's a different type of methodology from tools like MidJourney, where it's more important to include keywords and parameters, etc. With this, it's just a lot easier. So let's get started on the first one. We got a U-Haul truck driving through Phoenix, Arizona with a special discount marketed on the side of it. So this did a pretty good job. People in Arizona don't necessarily like people from California because they drive all the prices up. If you're from California and you're watching this, don't worry, I don't hate you, so no hard feelings. Now, remember, you could always reiterate on whatever you create. So I gave it something right here, so make it a little bit more realistic and stylized, like this is actually on the truck. And then boom, this looks pretty damn good. For 2 prompts, this looks pretty realistic. I mean, you can tell that it's not real, but at the same time, this is pretty close. And for just a minute worth of time and waiting, you're getting something pretty incredible. So from here, I wanted to create more of a story along the lines of what happens when somebody from California moves to Arizona, but then moves back. What happens in Arizona? What happens during this process? So I wanted the ChatGPT-4o editor and generator to create a receipt. So it created a realistic receipt of someone who purchased Move Back to California as their item with the cost of $0. So as you can see, guys, Move Back to California, $0.00. That looks pretty real. I mean, it's clearly not real, but it's pretty real. I mean, that's pretty damn good. And to get all of these numbers and letters 100% accurately, it's pretty insane. So now we have the receipt, we have the truck, now we're just missing one thing. We want a group of Arizonans celebrating because prices magically got lower, houses became affordable again, and society became less materialistic. And just like that, you have the celebration after the people from California move out of Arizona. Now, I wanted to put some text on there, so I just literally said, put Arizona residents on there so everybody knows what's happening. And there you go. That's the ending clips. You got those 3 clips. You got a funny little story. Unless you're from California, then maybe it's not so funny. Next, we're going to go through image editing and manipulation. So kind of like the last example I showed you guys with Michael Saylor, you can take an image and manipulate it and edit it with ChatGPT and make it look however you really want it to look. So here we're going to take a picture I took of BGC in the Philippines. So what I tried first, it didn't work that great. I said make it look like it's on the surface of the moon, which looked okay, but this next one looked really good. So I made it look like the buildings are right on a beachfront property, and that was the whole prompt. Again, these prompts aren't even really that crazy at all. It's like you're just talking to an artist and saying, hey, do this, hey, do this, and then it does it. It's that crazy. So as you can see, it took those buildings and it now looks like it's on a beachfront property. These buildings are not a one-to-one representation of the original. They're not exactly the same, but they're pretty close. And just imagine how much better it's going to get as time goes on. Next one is another image editing and manipulation example for you guys. So I took this picture. It's very cool, isn't it? I took it in Philippines as well. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I put Godzilla in here and watched Godzilla stomp through this huge mass of homes? What would that look like, right? Well, at first ChatGPT didn't like that because it didn't want to use Godzilla. That's a copyrighted character. So it said, hey, how about we just use a giant creature rampaging through a city? Want me to go that route? I said yes. And what do you know? That looks pretty similar to Godzilla, if you ask me. So I don't think it really mattered. So when ChatGPT prompts you for that, it's okay to say yes and just see what happens, because sometimes it'll look pretty close to what you want anyways, and it's not going to matter. And the final image manipulation example I have for you guys is the infamous crying meme here of this lady who got really upset when Trump got elected. So we're gonna put her in the popular Japanese animation style. I experimented with a couple others down here. It didn't work out so well. But this is considered to be the Studio Ghibli, probably not pronouncing that correctly, but put it in that style. Very simple prompt. Again, just like literally say, put it in this style. And then it does it. Now, as you can see, the mouth was gigantic, so I wanted to fix that, and you can do that too. And it's very, very simple. I just said the mouth is too big. Try to mirror the original image as much as possible, and there you go. I mean, that's really accurate. It's in the correct style. It looks exactly like the meme. I mean, that's crazy, guys. You can also create infographics that look like a designer created them. They're awesome. I just cannot understand how this one, out of pretty much all of them, I can't understand how this is possible, because you tell it what text you want and it does it, okay? It does it. You don't even have to tell it what text you want. It'll make up its own text based on what it knows, okay? If you guys have been following AI art creation at all, you know that text replication for specific words has always been a struggle for large language models and for AI, but no more. I mean, I don't think I've seen a single generation yet with this new ChatGPT image generator where I gave it a word that I wanted it to create and it didn't create it correctly. I don't think there's been a single time yet. It's that good, okay? And I profit nothing from saying these things. I don't work at ChatGPT. I don't work at OpenAI. Anyways, so I'm gonna give you guys a quick example of an infographic and just how easy it is to make. So I said, make a visual infographic describing why Michigan is an awful place to live. And just like that, that's pretty good. That's pretty spot on, really. I mean, I gave it some different edits to make it a little bit better because I wanted it tailored towards exactly why I thought Michigan wasn't the greatest place. Again, if you live in Michigan, don't get offended. I like to have fun. I like poking fun at everything. If you're already aware of this channel, if you're not, now you know. And again, I made some different edits to make it a little bit more of what I wanted it to be. So you can see, say, change the icon for potholes, change this icon, change this word, whatever. You can just keep going back and forth just like it's a real designer. And it will do whatever you tell it to do, basically. It's that good. Next up is postcard creation. Now, with this specific postcard I created, I went through a process and a series of iterations that are more complicated than what you need to do, probably. I just did it this way because new ideas came to me as I was creating this. So I can show you the process that I did. So I entered this prompt about Detroit, a photograph of downtown Detroit in the 90s. No vehicles, nothing. Looks pretty 2020, right? 2020, but also 90s. And from there, I wanted it to make it a little bit more realistic. So ultra realistic, hyper detailed, looking better, looking more realistic. And from there, I wanted to put a cool little tourism slogan on it. So vacation in Detroit, looking pretty good. But I mean, that looks pretty enticing to me. If I saw that, I'd probably want a vacation in Detroit. And from there, I wanted to put some subtext in there. Okay, so I gave it some subtext. It made that edit for me as well. But as you can see, this one kind of looked amateurish. I didn't like the design of the subtext. So from there, I told it to change the font size, make it look better with the composition, make it smaller. And just like that, guys, got a great postcard. And I'm willing to bet you this is the type of thing that would sell really well as a postcard. Probably not, but it's good for joke purposes. Now we have interior design. And this is a prompt straight out of MidJourney, straight from runtheprompts.com, my penthouse prompt page. And as you can see, this looks pretty impressive, does it not? So I wanted to see what ChatGPT's new image generator could do with a prompt like this. Now, of course, you're going to see that the prompt includes some parameters here that ChatGPT is not going to be compatible with, so I just took those off. But one really important thing that you guys need to know is it does support aspect ratios. So if you type in aspect ratio and then followed by whatever aspect ratio you want, it's going to support it. So test that out. And as you can see, the result was impressive. I mean, which one did it better? I think that's up for debate. Those both look pretty good. Mine here on ChatGPT looks a little bit more computer generated, a little bit less realistic, but it still looked good. And when we try the next prompt here, again, from the same page, penthouse with amazing LED lighting, and you can find it over here as well. Penthouse with amazing cool LED lighting right here. This is what happens in MidJourney. This is one of my favorites for sure for the penthouse prompts, and the result was just incredible. And what you get from ChatGPT is also really good. Is it as good? I would say it's not as good as this, but again, this is one of the best images I've seen out of MidJourney, in my opinion, from at least what I've been able to generate. And when you check it out here over in ChatGPT, this looks realistic too. I mean, this looks really good, but it's not quite as good. With that said, it handles it well. This is light years above DALL-E. So really, that's what we're comparing it to. Remember, this is like one step above DALL-E. And DALL-E was, generally speaking, garbage. I mean, it was still an AI image generator. It was still amazing, but compared to the other tools, it was garbage. And this next one is a very specific prompt. I definitely recommend you guys stealing this one and messing around with it. I actually got it straight from OpenAI's website to get a little bit of an idea. The whole thing isn't from the site, but this first part of it is. So take it, run with it, and see what happens, because this is impressive. A 90s arcade, totally vacant, kind of looks like a horror film setting. So cool. Just so next up, we have Billboard Creation with your design or logo. So imagine how cool it would be to have your logo and your slogan on a billboard in whatever city in the world that you want. And this is what happened with mine. This just absolutely blew my mind. So think about the marketing departments that could benefit from something like this, seeing what their designs and their logos would look like in specific places instantly. Like, this is what it looks like, really? I mean, this looks exactly like a spot in Phoenix where you could get a billboard. And here's the prompt right here. So I gave it my logo, and then I put in a fairly specific prompt of exactly what I wanted. And this was after one prompt. Again, guys, a lot of these just take one prompt. You probably won't even need to go back and forth with it, and you're gonna get something really good. And here's something else that I don't think anybody's tried to do yet. So I put my logo and my slogan on the sphere in Las Vegas. And again, how long would it take to create these types of things? How long would that take? I mean, it does it in about a minute. A minute later, it's able to do this. And I show these types of things to some people, like my friends and family. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, no, it's not just cool. You know how long this used to take? I mean, anyways, that's it. You can create it for yourself, put whatever you want on the sphere. Try putting your face on the sphere. Try putting your girlfriend's face on the sphere and saying, hey, happy anniversary or whatever, right? And then make that a postcard. Like, combine this with my postcard prompt. Say happy anniversary, put her face on the sphere. Get creative, guys. This is the time to get creative. You can now create whatever you want. I don't know how much I can stress this to you guys. Next one, we're gonna create a cartoon character for Run the Prompts. I had something in my head that I wanted, a specific character that I thought would represent Run the Prompts pretty well, and it didn't disappoint. So if you guys have cartoon characters or comic book threads that you wanna create, I've seen people create little comic book sections where you got one scene, then another scene on the right, another scene below it. We all know what this is. It's the grid format of the little comic strips. You can do that with this too, and you can tell ChatGPT exactly what you want in those word bubbles and what you want the different people to say throughout the comic book strip. So be sure to experiment with that too. But I gave it this prompt, pretty damn specific, and it absolutely nailed it. And it even put Run the Prompts on there with a little bit of green. Now, very, very important note for any designers out there, or any web developers, any marketers, specific colors, specific hex codes. I've tried, I've tested it, I've given the machine specific hex codes to try to use for the design, and it hasn't worked. At least it hasn't worked for me yet. I heard that it could work, but it doesn't work for me. With that said, you guys have seen the sphere, you guys have seen the billboard. It used my brand colors for that, but it was also pulling it directly from the logo. So it had that as its reference point. If it doesn't have that as its reference point, at least with my testing, the hex thing doesn't work, or at least not yet. Last but certainly not least, what we have is a handwritten letter example. So you can generate something that looks like a human wrote it. A lot of people are gonna see this one as being pretty creepy. With that said, it looks a little bit too polished to be actually from a human, because most humans have worse handwriting than this. I mean, if I saw this, I'd say, yeah, this is a little bit too good to be a human being's handwriting. With that said, if you were to iterate on this and say, hey, this looks a little bit too legible, make it look sloppier, make it look horrible, I guarantee you it would work. I didn't experiment with that, but you could make it more handwritten and more authentic if you want it. And to do that, literally just say a handwritten note with the following text and then use whatever text you want. And then again, you can make it so it's a little bit more authentic, a little bit sloppier than something so polished like this. Before we wrap up, guys, we have to address the elephant in the room here. Are graphic designers done at this point after technology like this? Like, do we even need graphic designers after this? And at this point, it's going to get a little crazy. I don't know the answer to that question, but in my own personal opinion, I do think this is going to be a net negative for the graphic design industry in terms of jobs. And that's scary and also sad. I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. But at the same time, the world changes. Things evolve, new tools come out, and the best designers are going to be able to use this tool even and create even better designs and faster designs. They're going to be teaming up to create the best designs the world has ever seen, because now they have a tool that can create whatever vision they have in their head. They can take what the tool gives them, they can import it into Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or Canva, and they can perfect it and they can run off that and then create something amazing based off that. My initial thoughts with the whole AI graphics and design thing with MidJourney before this came out was always, this is the best creative tool ever. That was always my take on it. That it probably wasn't going to eliminate very many graphic design positions because this is like jet fuel for graphic designers. But with the introduction of this new ChatGPT image generator, things are going to get a little bit weird. And there are going to be some jobs that get lost, in my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. What jobs are going to be lost from this, in my opinion? Probably going to be the entry-level design positions and the designers that are mediocre or worse. So the best designers, I think, are still going to have a job. I do truly believe that. But the ones that are not the best might not. And I hope that doesn't happen. But again, sometimes society changes and things change and everyone ends up needing to adapt. On the bright side, think about all the small businesses out there that have horrible logos, that have horrible menus. You go into their restaurant, you're like, what is this? There's no design to it at all. It's just horrible. There's a lot of businesses out there that have that situation. If you don't believe me, take a trip down the street, look at the logos of most small businesses. They're horrible. It's like they have no idea what they're doing. And it's tools like this that could empower every business in the world to have good design based on solid design principles. And one thing that might result from all of this that's a good thing is bad design might become a thing of the past, because I have yet to create a single image in this generator that I would consider bad. Like, it doesn't produce bad work. Usually it's the same thing with MidJourney. Like, the images you get are pretty good. So that's something no one's talking about. So will it make the world a more beautiful place? Maybe. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. That's it for this video, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This took forever to put together all of this for you to give you some awesome use cases and examples of this new image generator. So please do me a favor and subscribe so that you can get the latest from Run the Prompts. Also, head on over to runtheprompts.com. We have content just like this, only in written format, so you might actually have to read. I know a lot of people don't like reading, especially my readers. They don't like reading either. That's why I created this YouTube channel. So go on out there, visit that website, visit our sponsor, Venice.ai. You'll love them. You can get 20% off with promo code RUN20. And until next time, be sure to run the prompts and prompt the planet.